Hello and welcome to CEC lectures on human resource management. So friends, in the previous couple of lectures, we had started the topic of organizational culture, a yet another important aspect of human resource management. So what is organizational culture? Well, it refers to the shared values, beliefs, behaviors and the norms that influence how people interact, how they make decisions and approach work within any organization. And we had discussed about the importance of organizational culture or the power that the culture holds. And it is this culture which would differentiate one organization from another, a successful organization from a not so successful organization. So, behind the success, there is this culture. Then we talked about the nature of organizational culture, means what are the broad characteristics when we talk about the culture of an organization. Well, talking about the nature, it is multidimensional, it evolves over time. Culture is never built overnight, it takes years and years and it evolves through time. Then it is learned through observation. So, if you are joining an organization, how do you learn the culture? You learn by observing how people are behaving around you, how they are talking, how meetings are conducted, who is being promoted. So, you learn the culture through observing these small little things. Then it is not written. The culture won't be written on walls, but yet it is one of the most powerful tools which an organization would have. It is stable and adaptive. So, if we talk about culture, it has to be stable, it does not change, but at the same time it has to be adaptive, which means that according to the environment, according to the situations, according to the changes occurring in the environment, organizations have to be adaptive. You can't be stringent or strict with your culture. You will have to adopt and adapt according to the need of the environment. So, this is tricky, that you have to be stable, yet you have to be adaptive. Then why is culture important? Well, it is important because it improves employee engagement, better decision making among the employees, and it leads to alignment with the organization's vision and mission. So, once you know what the vision mission of the organization is, you yourselves are aligned in achieving that mission. Then it leads to innovation, and of course it improves brand image, and we learned it through various examples of Google, of Amazon, of Tata, that how their culture has built an image for themselves, and how people perceive an organization is through its culture. What are the components of organizational culture? We talked that there are three components, namely the artifacts, the espoused beliefs and the underlying beliefs. So, artifacts are the visible elements, the design of the office space, the dress code, the logo, the slogans, etc., that might be there, which are visible to the naked eye. Then there are espoused beliefs, means what you state or what you claim, means your vision, mission statements, your strategy, your ethics code, everything that you claim that you are the espoused beliefs, another component of the organization's culture. And last is the underlying beliefs, means what are the deep rooted beliefs. These are again not visible, but yet they are one of the strongest, one of the most powerful aspects or components of organizational culture. Then we discussed about the role of vision, mission and the strategic goals on organizational culture. and we did the 4 models of organizational culture, namely the Edgar Schein, Quinn and Cameron, Hofstede and Charles Handy models of organizational culture. So, today we are going to talk about the cultural dimensions, the strong cultures, the weak cultures, and also the toxic cultures. Many organizations and people and employees are talking about toxic cultures. So, what are those? So, we are going to deep dive into yet another important aspects of organizational culture, beginning from the cultural dimensions. So, what are cultural dimensions? Well, these are the frameworks that help us understand how values and behaviors differ between cultures. So, as I emphasized on the importance of culture, I said that cultures differentiate one organization from the other. That means the values, the behaviors of people would be different between organization A and organization B. That is what differentiates both these organizations. So, the cultural dimensions offer insights into how people perceive power, how they perceive their time, their relationships, and these relationships could be peer to peer relationship, it could be your relationship with your customer, it could be your relationship with your superiors or your subordinates, it could be any relationship within the organization. So, how do you perceive that thing? That is an important integral cultural dimension. Then how do you perceive rules? Means is it just something which is written, or is it something which you want to follow and not just you have to follow? And how do you perceive risk? Is it something which excites you, or is it something you are afraid of taking? So, all these influence how the organizations operate globally. So, that is what we mean by cultural dimensions. But why are cultural dimensions important? So, by understanding cultural dimensions, we get to understand, or it helps the organizations communicate more effectively across borders. It helps to design HR and management practices that respect local norms. So, every organization is operating at a local level also, no matter it is a global organization or a multinational organization. But if say it is operating in the state of Gujarat or Punjab, though it is a global company, but still you will have to respect the local sentiments of the people or the local norms, and every state would be having different norms. So, you have to understand that is also an important aspect of cultural dimensions. Then it is important to reduce the cultural shock in global teams. So, again we have multinational companies operating globally, operating in different cultures. So, when we understand the cultural dimension, we are able to reduce the cultural shock among employees. It helps to adapt leadership styles in international operations and manage multicultural teams with empathy and effectiveness. So, as we all know that today we are having a multicultural teams within the organizations. So, there would be people from different ethnicities, different religions, different age groups, different beliefs. So, how do you manage these multicultural people? So, that would come by understanding the cultural dimensions of the organization. Now, what are these cultural dimensions? Let us understand these. The first one is the mechanistic and organic cultures. So, what is a mechanistic culture? It is characterized by hierarchical structures, means there is emphasis on the hierarchy, formal rules and centralized decision making. So, whosoever has the power, whosoever is in the leadership position, he or she would be the one who is taking or making the decisions. So, here the emphasis is on stability, predictability and control, and it exhibits the values of bureaucracy and feudalism. So, more hierarchy, more following of rules and regulations and less autonomy, that is the mechanistic culture. So, in this type of a culture, the authority would obviously flow down from top to the lower levels or from top to bottom, and people are happy maintaining the status quo and the structured salary scales. So, means people are not challenging the situations, they are happy maintaining the status quo, and whatever salary structure is there, they are following it, they are happy and they are retained. So, an example here would be the traditional manufacturing company like General Motors. It follows a mechanistic culture where there are rigid job roles and strong supervisory control. The next is, in comparison to mechanistic, is the organic culture. So, here in contrast to it, the culture here is more flexible and there is decentralized decision making, means the power of decision making is not given to just one person, but it is decentralized among departments. So, if there are 5 departments, all the heads of the different departments can take their own decisions. Then another feature of organic culture is that there is open communication and adaptability, and this would, of course, if there is open communication, if people are more adaptive, people are collaborating, it would encourage innovation and more collaboration would be visible in organic cultures. So, the formal hierarchies of authority, departmental boundaries, formal rules and regulations are disliked in organizations which have an organic culture. So, we can say it is more flexible, more open and transparent communication, more adaptability, greater innovation and collaboration. So, the culture emphasizes flexibility, consultation, change and innovation. So, an example here I have taken is that of Spotify, which operates with agile teams, and these teams are called squads, which promote autonomy and rapid innovation, reflecting an organic culture. So, there is no hierarchy, there is no centralized decision making, more of autonomy is given, which leads to more collaboration and more innovation or rapid innovations. The second category of cultural dimension is the authoritarian and participative cultures. So, as the name suggests, authoritarian culture is the top down management style, where decisions are made by senior leaders with little input from subordinates. So, the subordinates are not involved in decision making. Again, we would say that it is more centralized decision making, where only the top management or the senior leaders are involved in taking the decisions. And emphasis is on obedience, order and control. So, whatever the boss is saying, you have to simply obey the orders, right, and you have no control over whatever you are or you want to do. So, here the ultimate power lies with the leader, and it is, as we always say, that boss is always right. So, this is the authoritarian culture where we do not have the right to say that boss can be wrong. So, boss is always right and any disobedience is punished to set an example for others, which means that today if I question my boss, I would be reprimanded or maybe I would be punished, so that the others also get a lesson that you are not supposed to question the boss. So, example can be traditional Asian companies or some old government institutions where decision making is highly centralized and employees follow the orders without questioning. So, you are not supposed to question the boss, you are simply supposed to follow whatever orders are given to you. Then is the participative culture, an extreme opposite of the previous one. So, employees at all levels are involved in decision making. So, it encourages teamwork, it encourages open communication, and there is a sense of belongingness, a sense of ownership. So, when I am a part of the crucial decisions for my department, there is a sense of responsibility, sense of belongingness, and of course, the sense of ownership. I own whatever I am doing, whatever my task or my job is. So, based on the notion that people are more committed to decisions that are collectively made than to those which are imposed on them. So, you can understand this very well if you take it on yourself, that if you are made to do certain things, you won't be happy doing that. But if you are yourselves committed on doing those things, you would be happier in doing that, because that decision of doing that particular task is yours and nobody has told you to do that. So, that is the basic difference between these two types of the cultures. So, an example here is of W.L. Gore and Associates, which are the makers of Gore-Tex. It promotes participative decision making, where team members, they choose their leaders and collaborate across functions. The next is the dominant and the subcultures. So, dominant culture is what is, large organizations have or follow. So, these are the values, beliefs and norms which are evolved by the large organizations and are binding and shared by all employees. So, the overarching culture that is shared across the majority of the organization is the dominant culture, means what everybody is doing within the organization is the dominant culture. So, at Apple, the dominant culture is innovation driven, it is secretive and it is design focused. Similarly, if we talk about Tata, it is more people centric, more trust centric, more ethics driven culture is there. So, that is the overarching culture, means everybody is following that. But then there are subcultures, which means they are the smaller cultures that exist within different departments. So, no matter if the organization is very large, there would be primarily the dominant culture, but if there are certain smaller departments, they might be having their own subcultures. So, the dominant culture is the broad culture and subcultures are the smaller cultures which are followed by lesser number of people. They can exist within different departments, different units or even different geographic locations, and which may slightly differ from the dominant culture also. So, continuing with the example of Apple. So, within Apple, while the dominant culture is secretive and hierarchical, the marketing team may have a more collaborative and open subculture. So, again I would say that these cultures are not that it would be this or this, but they can be coexistence also. There can be dominant culture as well as subculture. There can be participative or there can be, in some departments, there can be the authoritarian culture also. Then moving further, the next topic is strong organizational culture. So, what is when we say, what do we mean when we say that this organization has a very strong culture, right? So, a strong culture exists when the core values and beliefs of the organization are deeply embedded, widely shared and consistently reinforced across all levels. Though it is similar to what we were discussing about organizational culture, that it is deeply embedded, it is shared, but here when we talk about strong culture, it is consistently reinforced across all levels, means you want to retain and preserve your culture. Like when we talk about our country, we want to preserve our culture, we want to preserve the heritage of our country. Only then we can say that our culture is very strong. So, same is true for an organization also. So, strong organizational culture significantly influences employee behavior, decision making and the performance of employees within the organization. So, let us understand strong culture with the help of some key characteristics, means how do you identify that this is a strong culture? Well, it would be having a high level of employee alignment with organizational values. So, if you are able to see that the people within the organization are aligned with the values, or if my values are aligned with the organization's values, then we can claim that this is a strong organizational culture. Then another characteristic is consistent behavior across departments and locations. So, if you are able to see that the behavior of people within the organization across different departments is consistent, and even in the various geographical locations also people are behaving in a similar manner, in the same manner, then you can say that the organization has a very strong culture. Means the culture does not change with departments, the culture does not change with different locations, means the culture is strong. Then if you see that there is a strong sense of identity, a strong sense of loyalty and belonging, that is again an evidence of a strong organizational culture. Means if you proudly associate yourself with your organization, you can proudly say, I belong to this organization, I am loyal to this organization, I belong to this organization, and you take pride in this, which is again evident that the organization is having a strong culture. And it is often developed and nurtured over time by strong leadership and the rituals. So, to have a strong culture, I believe that a strong leadership is extremely important. If every time a new leader comes and he brings or she brings a new culture, this means that the original culture of the organization is being diluted over time. So, if you want to have a strong culture, you need to have such leaders who develop and nurture the culture of the organization. Then it is reinforced through stories, through symbols, through training, recognition and rewards. Very important is that building a culture is one thing, but reinforcing that culture is yet another, and very crucial, because with time new people would come, with time the environment would change, with time people would change, products would change. So, how do you ensure that your culture remains there? How do you ensure that the stories of the leaders who started that particular organization are flowing, are well heard by the people who are joining the organization? So, you have to reinforce that. A strong culture has significant impact on employee performance, demonstrated through heightened morale, positive attitudes, commitment and increased cohesiveness. This is because there is clarity among employee about what organization stands for. So, that is yet another feature of a strong organizational culture, that every employee is extremely clear as to what is expected out of them, what does the organization mean to them and what does that organization stands for. So, Southwest Airlines, for example, it is known for its culture of fun, teamwork and employee first philosophy. So, how this culture of fun and teamwork is developed. So, employees here are empowered to act in line with the shared values and even without rigid rules. So, even they are not having very rigid rules, yet people enjoy working there because they have the employee first philosophy. Again, an example of a strong culture. Similarly, Zappos, it focuses intensely on customer service and culture fit. So, new hires, if they find that they are not a good fit for their culture, they offer them money to quit after training. So, means they provide the training, and yet if they feel that this particular person is not culturally fit, they offer them money and ask them to quit. So, only those who truly align with the culture, they are allowed to stay with the organization. That is again an evidence of how you reinforce your culture. So, friends, today we discussed about the cultural dimensions, and now we were understanding as to what do we mean by a strong organizational culture, why an organization needs to have a strong organizational culture, and what are certain examples which help us understand what a strong organizational culture means. So, we will continue with more topics. Thank you.